Rango, grammar, and the 11th Amendment are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is March 4th, 2022, the 63rd day of the year, 302 days left in this extremely exciting year so far. Today is the 9th Friday in the 10th week and the 74th day of winter, 16 days left until spring, Pisces, Aquarium, Bloodstone, Jade, you know all of that. I'm going to switch it up soon, I'm sure. I just haven't figured out what to put there. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section below. And make sure you use proper grammar because today is National Grammar Day. National Grammar Day is observed across the United States each year on March 4th. The observance encourages us to use correct grammar in both verbal and written languages. I know grammar. I choose not to use it. Actually, I don't choose not to use it. It's just I write and I speak so fast sometimes. Strange words come out of my mouth and out of my hand when I'm writing or typing. Years of being a stand-up comedian, I just developed my own way of communicating and I've forgotten about English grammar. Anyway, according to the Global Language Monitor, yes, that's a thing, the estimated number of words in the English language is 1,025,109 words. Now, there is some controversy over this figure, but it's safe to say it's over a million. But, you know, controversy in grammar, come on. All right, let's see what else March 4th has given us. 1681, Charles II grants the land charter to William Penn for the area that would become Pennsylvania. 1789, in New York City, the first Congress of the United States meets, putting the United States Constitution into effect. 1794, the 11th Amendment to the United States Constitution is passed by Congress. Now, we talked about this recently. The 11th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says U.S. courts cannot hear cases and make decisions against states if it is sued by citizens who live in another state or a person who lives in another country. So as an example, let's say you don't like the gun laws in Texas. You're a California resident. You can't sue Texas to change their gun laws. No, it has to be someone in Texas to bring the lawsuit forward or any other thing you want changed. I'm just bringing up guns because it's a hot topic. 1797, John Adams is inaugurated as the second president of the United States of America, becoming the first president to begin his presidency on March 4th. 1882, Britain's first electric tram runs in East London. Been around a while, 1882. 1933, Frances Perkins becomes the United States Secretary of Labor. She becomes the first female member of a United States cabinet. 1957, the S&P 500 stock market index is introduced, replacing the S&P 90. 1966, in an interview in the London Evening Standard, the Beatles, John Lennon, declares that the band is more popular than Jesus now. So this was quite the controversy back in the day. I mean, there's already people thinking that rock and roll music was sent to us by the devil and all this other stuff. And then John Lennon goes and says this. Well, he wasn't comparing himself to Jesus like he had said in many interviews afterwards and apologized for the misunderstanding. And that's not what he was getting at, but it was, by most accounts in poor form. Of course, this led to boycotts all across the southern United States and the Bible Belt. Some radio stations stopped playing the music of the Beatles. Records were publicly burned. Press conferences were canceled. And the Ku Klux Klan picketed their concerts. The controversy led to the band's 1966 being like their last live tour. They already weren't into it, and John Lennon especially didn't like touring, and this kind of put an end to all the touring. Lennon also never went and toured for his solo career. But this also helped the Beatles become more popular. Anytime anyone wants to boycott or whatever they're going to do to something, it just makes them more popular. Perfect example is Married with Children. Married with Children hit Fox, and it was, edgy and all this weird stuff about they say it was like a totally dysfunctional family, but in reality, it was pretty much the standard American family. Nobody wanted to admit it, but once they started boycotting it, the show took off. It was failing prior to them boycotting it, and then, it became a great thing and went on for years. But John Lennon said this, and it made them more popular, outside the southern states. Sure, the kids were still on board with it, but the radio stations and the parents were not. In 1980, John Lennon was murdered by a Christian fan of the Beatles. I never say losers like this name, so I'm not going to. But he's still in jail. He does have another parole hearing coming up this year in August, which I'm sure will be denied just like the 11 previous times. But this loser did state that John Lennon's quote was a motivating factor for the killing. 2015, at least 34 miners die in a suspected gas explosion at a coal mine in rebel-held region of Ukraine. 2020, Nick Wallenda becomes the first person to walk over the Masaya volcano in Nicaragua. This is a tightrope thing, which I think is kind of lame. Back in the day, they didn't have any safety things. Now, whenever this dude does it, he has a leash attached to the tightrope or tight wire, whatever it is, and high wire, I guess they used to call it. And so if he falls off, he's safe. Where's the excitement in that? I mean, his grandfather or whatever used to walk across things like the Twin Towers. He walked across those with no safety harness. Movies released on March 4th, 2011, Rango. This is a kid's movie about a lizard, that lives in the Nevada desert, and it's voiced by Johnny Depp. Very interesting thing about this. Johnny Depp was in the movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's a Hunter S. Thompson book that they turned into a movie. During the book and in the movie, him and his friend take a bunch of drugs, they're hallucinating, they're flying across the desert in this big Cadillac. And it's a big part of the movie and the book. In the movie Rango, he gets launched into the air, the little tiny lizard, like a gecko lizard, and lands on the windshield of Johnny Depp and his character in the movie of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And if you know the movie, you know they're on drugs. So these two guys are driving down the thing. This lizard lands on their windshield and they start freaking out. It's a pretty good cartoon for kids, but if you're an adult, you'll see that I actually laughed so hard. I had to turn off the video for a few minutes to get myself together. It was hysterical. But he's like an ordinary chameleon or gecko. Yeah, I guess he's a chameleon that finds himself in a lawless town in the Wild West who is desperate for a new sheriff. Cute movie. Born on March 4th, 1954, Catherine O'Hara. I love her. She's old SCTV stuff back in the day when SCTV was on with John Candy, Eugene Levy, Martin Short, all those guys. If you don't know who she was, she's an actress, writer, and comedian who became known for her roles in Beetlejuice, where she played the mom, Home Alone, where she played the mom, and more recently, she's been in Netflix's show Series of Unfortunate Events, which I haven't seen. I heard it's good, though. She was Gilda Radner's understudy on Saturday Night Live, and she'd been there for a few years. And when they finally offered her a position as a full-time player, as they call them, she turned it down so her friend Robin Duke could take the position. Died on March 4th, 2008, we lost Gary Gygax. If you don't know who he is, I might have talked about him before, but he is the co-creator of Dungeons & Dragons, the role-playing fantasy game. He also co-founded a couple other things to do with games. Fun fact, my brother, who is now retiring, is an officer in the military. When he was doing, I think, his first deployment to Iraq, he got a new captain. My brother's like a colonel right now, but he got a new captain, and he's looking at the paperwork. The guy comes into his office, and he goes, "Oh, so Gygax, like the Dungeons & Dragons guy?" And he's all, "Yeah, that's my dad." I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, he was part of a team that inspired a lot of people to be very creative over the last 50 years. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a very productive day, and be nice to each other.